All right, Ashley, this is we're ready for your session on Rethink Your Sweets. And again, this is Med Instead of Meds, week 6. Ashley is the Northwest Regional Family Consumer Sciences Specialist.
All right, fantastic. I'm so excited to be wrapping up this session of Med Instead of Meds, talking about our sugar and rethinking our sweets. So before we start, if you guys want to drop in the chat any changes that you have made so far since learning about this new med way of learning, this med way of eating. All right, so now we're wrapping up on these main focuses, but I just want to review everything that the Medway really entails here. So of course, eating lots and lots of fruits and vegetables. Just look at that beautiful color there. Eating whole grains and making all or most of your grains whole. Then eating beans and legumes. Seafood 2 to 3 times a week. Remember that Salmon Saturday. I love that. Snacking on nuts and seeds. Olive oil, changing your olive oil from those solid saturated fats that we may have used before. Jazzing up our dishes with herbs and spices to add that flavor in a nutritious way. And then drinking red wine sparingly and on occasion. And this can be optional if you are not a wine drinker. Adding in that physical activity, which I'm excited to also talk today about, including our sweets, and being mindful when we eat, taking our time, putting our fork down, enjoying our meals with our family and friends, anyone that we're eating with. And then what we're going to wrap up with today is our sweetened beverages and our sweets. So let's dive in. So of course, remembering that this med way of eating is simple, delicious, and satisfying. We have satisfying foods with protein and nuts to keep us satiated, delicious because we're jazzing up our food in nutritious ways using those herbs and spices, and simple because we are using simple techniques. I'm not going to cook a really hard meal with lots of instructions and lots of ingredients. That's just not me. I'm going to want something quick and easy, and I'm betting that's what you want too. So, of course, as always, as the other weeks have been talking about, going to be simple and easy. All right, and now we're going to dive into the 7th step here, rethinking your sweets. Okay, so our goal is to limit our sugar intake to no more than 3 servings a week. So if this seems challenging to you, if you might eat more than 3 servings of your sweets a week, we're going to give you a lot of tips today to help with that. Okay, so why do we want and need to limit sugar? Well, sugar is truly making us sick. As you can see here on this slide, there are many negative health impacts that a high sugar diet is related to. Heart disease, non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, diabetes, obesity, tooth decay, gout, which is a common form of inflammatory arthritis that's very painful in your foot, and then metabolic syndrome, which is associated with more belly fat, lower good cholesterol, which is your HDL cholesterol, and then higher blood pressures, blood sugar, and triglycerides. Okay, so more on this inflammation. A high sugar diet, and especially one that's low in the fruit and vegetables, which I know you guys are just loaded up on the fruits and veggies now, causes increased inflammation, which in turn increases the risk for that diabetes, heart disease, and other chronic diseases that were mentioned on the last slide. And many of the chronic diseases that we face in the United States are caused by that systemic inflammation. So there's 2 types of sugar in our diets. On the left here is the added sugar, and on the right, the sugar found naturally in foods. The one on the right, the sugar found naturally in foods in milk, fruits and vegetables are not what we're talking about today. Of course, we love the fruits and veggies there, so we're okay with that. What we're really focusing on today is, and what we want to eat less of, is the sugar that is added into the ingredients in processed and prepared foods. So we're going to talk about how we can really be detectives and look at ingredient labels and nutrition facts to see what foods actually have that added sugar in it. And our bodies are predisposed to liking sugar from birth. I found that really interesting. Unlike salty tastes, which are something that we learn to like, sweet tastes are there from birth because sugar makes us feel good. It signals and releases serotonin and endorphins, and sugar tastes good. I think we can kind of all agree on that one, that it does taste good. But we just consume way too much of it. The average American consumes 152 pounds of sugar each year. That is a ton. So let's look at it another way. That is 26 to 30 teaspoons of sugar each day. So to put that into kind of perspective of how does that all add up? Well, a 12-ounce can of soda has about 10 teaspoons of sugar. So right there is 1/3 of how much we actually eat a day. And it all adds up. As you will see, as we look into the nutrition facts, a lot of our processed food has so much hidden sugar in it. So we're going to give you the tools on how to be detectives today. But that's 3 times the amount recommended. The amount recommended is 6 to 9 teaspoons each day. So where does all of this extra sugar come from? I mentioned the soda having about 10 teaspoons in a 12-ounce, but about 43% of our added sugar comes from soft drinks. 19% comes from our grain-based desserts, such as cookies, pies, muffins. 16% comes from candy, and 9% comes from dairy desserts, and that includes flavored milk. And again, that 6 to 9 teaspoons of added sugar is the recommended top amount of how much added sugar we should have a day. So you really want to look at labels, and remember when you're looking at labels to figure out how many grams into teaspoons that equivalent is, 4 grams of sugar is 1 teaspoon of sugar when you're looking at a label. Okay, so the bottom is what's recommended. 6 teaspoons of added sugar are recommended for women each day, and 9 teaspoons of added sugar are recommended for men each day. But 23 teaspoons of added sugar are consumed by average Americans per day. And then 15 teaspoons are in a 20-ounce soda. So we are just blowing that 6 to 9 teaspoons of recommended sugar out of the water. And we could do that just by 1 drink. And some people may go to a gas station or Sonic and they have their daily drink, and they can really, that sugar can really add up very quickly when we think about our beverages that we drink. Okay, and sugar isn't only in beverages. 74% of processed foods contain added sugar, and that is an assault on our palate because this increases our daily consumption of added sugar even when we're avoiding sweet foods and beverages. So we might only think about the ice cream and pies and desserts, but they really sneak it, they, as in the food manufacturers, really sneak in sugar to so many foods because we like sugar. It's a fact. We like sugar. We, even from birth, it's what we crave. So they know that. And it's an assault on our palates because it makes us accustomed to a certain level, which is a higher level of sweetness, even in foods that aren't meant to be sweet, such as crackers. So you want to become a label detective to become mindful of how much sugar you actually eat. And reading labels will help with this. Manufacturers may break apart different types of sugar and the different kinds, so that sugar doesn't appear as that first ingredient. So all of these different names really boil down to sugar. They can name it whatever they want, but it's still sugar. So we get these questions a lot. So is regular sugar better than high fructose corn syrup? Well, what about honey? Is honey okay? Is agave okay? Is it healthy? What's healthier? Sugar in the raw, is that okay? You all might be thinking this too, but for me, I like to keep things simple here. So none of these are healthier than sugar, and all of them should be used sparingly, and they all add up and contribute to that 6 to 9 teaspoons a day. If you have any specific questions on these, you can add them in the chat, but really that is what it boils down to. I like to keep it simple, so whatever you like most, they all add to that 6 to 9 teaspoons. So right here, this slide shows different labels of some foods that you might not think of as necessarily being sweet. So this top left, the upper left, is an example of an ideal spaghetti sauce, as it has 5 grams of sugar, but you'll see that it has 0 grams of added sugar in it, and about 50 calories in a half cup serving, meaning that the sugars are natural to the product itself. So in the tomatoes, so those are the naturally occurring sugars in the tomatoes. And most spaghetti sauces in the grocery store will have a higher sugar content. So I challenge you next time, if you do like jarred or canned pasta sauce, look at how much added sugars are there. And you might really question what you're going to purchase next time. Bread is in the label on the lower left. Most breads in the grocery store will have added sugar, such as honey wheat bread. Be sure to read those labels, and also reading the serving size, that it's 1 slice. If you're going to have a sandwich, you'll just double that amount there. Wheat thins are the label in the center. These wheat thins, I was eating wheat thins and I looked down at the sugar one time, and I was very surprised at how much sugar are in these wheat thins, because of course you're eating them and you might not think that they're really like a dessert, but look at the amount of sugar there. 5 grams of sugar and then 4 grams of added sugar per 16 pieces. So there's 8 servings in that small box. I do know some people who can just sit down and mindlessly eat quite a few servings of those wheat thins. So that's another thing about being mindful of how much we're eating and really sitting down, enjoying our food and being present. Then the honey roasted peanut butter is the label on the right. It has 4 grams of sugar per 2 tablespoons of peanut butter. And then I just encourage you to look for the natural peanut butter and try the natural peanut butter if you so choose. Okay, now this is a med tip here. So 2 foods that have a lot of added sugar are cereals and breakfast bars and granola bars. So here are some tips here. When you're looking at cereal, look for cereals that have less than 6 grams of sugar per serving, and there are really only a few out there, but really be a detective, and they are out there. And then less than 5 grams of sugar per 100 calories for your snack bars and granola bars. And if you really want to use your knowledge of the med instead of meds, do a med flip and choose nuts instead. Okay, so you may have noticed on the new nutrition facts labels that added sugars are required to be labeled there. So this is really helpful when you're looking at the total sugars versus the total sugars, what might be naturally occurring versus what is added to the food. Whoops, sorry, wrong button there. Okay, and then you want to read labels and ingredient lists, especially on your marinades, sauces, and dressings. We have talked about how to make easy med instead of meds salad dressings, and we're going to also talk about how to make easy marinades and sauces, because as you may know, many of the marinade sauces and dressings are loaded with sugar. So right here, simple again, you get your acid, such as vinegar, citrus juice, or wine, and then oil, your olive oil, canola oil, and sesame oil, and then jazz it up with seasoning. And you can marinate vegetables, poultry, meat, fish by placing the item to be marinated and the marinated ingredients into a container. Let it sit there for a while and let it really soak up those delicious seasonings. And I betcha Christina, when she talks about the recipes, will have some of these to talk about too. So one of the med tips is to just don't drink sugar. Soda, sweet tea, juice, sports drinks, and sweetened coffees might be a go-to for many of us. But when we eliminate some of this sugar that we might be drinking, we're going to really notice how much less sugar that we actually need, because our body doesn't need all of this sugar, especially from these drinks. And all calories are not created equal here, because liquid calories and food calories, our body does not read them the same. And calories from liquid may not make you feel full. Your body doesn't read them like food calories, where we take in the food calories and we get full. Liquid calories aren't read like that with our body. So don't drink sugar. Food calories are much more satisfying for your body and are generally more nutrient rich than liquid calories. If we're going to take in calories, we want to get the most bang for our buck. And unfortunately, the sugar sweetened beverages don't give us much bang for our buck. And examples of the sugar in sugar sweetened beverages right here, soda. It probably comes to no surprise that a 20-ounce soda has about 17 teaspoons of sugar. And most colas and other similar drinks, regardless of what color they are, if they're clear, green, orange, purple, or brown, many of them will have this same amount of sugar here. And then sweet tea. A 20-ounce jar of sweet tea has about 16 teaspoons of added sugar. And here's another med. So if you love your sweet tea, try the ginger flavored green tea from medinsteadofmeds.com or the cranberry lime soda. And you can flavor your water with fruits and vegetables and herbs, like the strawberry mint water there, which is really delicious. It has amazing flavor, and the longer you let it sit in the refrigerator, the stronger those flavors and the mint are really going to come out. And then try iced herb tea without sweetener. So you've got the cucumber citrus water also, which is just as good. And then your DIY oatmeal. So on the left here, we have a honey and almond oatmeal, just a grab and go. You probably add milk or water to it, put it in the microwave or add hot water. It has 10 grams of added sugar, but if you make your own, you can have just your oatmeal, add it with fruit and nuts and maybe some cinnamon or nutmeg, whatever kind of spices you like. And you can have much more flavor, in my opinion, and much more nutrients, more bang for your buck, more fiber, and 0 added grams of sugar there. that just looks so much more appealing too. And if you add strawberries to it and raspberries, you'll have different colors. Just a beautiful bowl of oatmeal there. And then DIY yogurt. So if you buy the already flavored yogurt, the black cherry on the bottom, there will be added sugar in there. But if you get the plain non-fat Greek yogurt and add in sweetener yourself and use less sweetener because you will be in control, or just adding fruit, that will give you color and flavor, and you can make it your own. And then you can enjoy yogurt as a dessert. There is a recipe with yogurt bark with berries, and you can get creative by adding other various toppings that you like on there, but there's 0 grams of added sugar there. And breaking your sugar habit. So assess your sugar intake now. So I've been talking a lot about what foods have this amount of sugar. So really think about how much sugar you eat daily, and then cut back gradually and give your palate some time to adjust. And beverages, as I've been talking a lot about, are a great place to start. Allow yourself small sweets so that you don't feel deprived and then become more likely to overconsume. And I like this tip. Buy high quality sugar foods in small amount, and think quality, not quantity. So buy something you really like, enjoy it, be present when you eat it, be mindful, and really take the time to enjoy it. And don't just mindlessly snack on a large quantity of something kind of mediocre that you're not really in love with, but it is sweet. And then use the natural sugar in fruit to calm your sugar cravings. Okay. And then breaking your sugar habit, we've got flipping your dessert to be more med friendly. A good way to do this instead of an apple pie is a microwaved baked apple recipe, which is really delicious. I personally like slow cooker apples, which is kind of a different flip on your apple pie, but it tastes exactly the same, just without the crust and definitely not as much sugar. So what about artificial sweeteners? Well, artificial sweeteners may impact your palate expectations and leave you expecting food to be more sweeter than it naturally is. But artificial sweeteners are on the market and are safe to consume. There's been a lot of research on artificial sweeteners, and artificial sweeteners are a better option in terms of calories, if you're looking at it that way, than eating plain sugar. So, of course, mindful living and the med way. It means doing things on purpose, not just what I've been mentioning, like with the wheat thins, sitting down with a box of wheat thins and just eating way too much, and then sitting, enjoying your meal, getting that quality food, and really being present when you eat it. And simple steps for mindful physical activity are being physically active is really at the foundation of the Mediterranean lifestyle, not just physical activity, but also exercise, making sure you plan it in your day and make it a point to be active throughout the day. And of course, importantly, it's a important aspect of chronic disease risk reduction and controlling your chronic diseases if you have them. So why is being active so important? Well, of course, you know, there's so many good reasons. You are in Watt, Kansas for a reason. You know why it's important to be active. It's fun. You have sleep improvement. Drop in the chat if your sleep has improved since starting Watt, Kansas. Your mood has improved. Are you happier overall? Disease prevention, disease management, stress management. Are you less stressed? Weight management, Being physically active and exercising is an excellent way to maintain your weight. Current and future mobility keep you loosened up so that you can stay mobile as we age. And pain management. Some people are afraid to begin getting active because they're afraid of their pain or they might be in pain. But research has shown that being more active decreases pain in the long run. So there are so many benefits to physical activity. And since we are in Watt, Kansas, tell us what your favorite physical activity or exercise is. Mine is walking the dog, but has yours changed since Watt, Kansas, or has it stayed the same? Have you tried anything new? Like, tell us, let us know. So simple steps for mindful physical activity are just being aware how much you are being active and moving your body throughout the day. Do you take the stairs or do you use the elevator? Do you walk to visit a coworker or do you just pick up the phone or send an email? Do you park further away and walk or look for the closest parking spot? Do you sit all day or do you get up every 30 minutes to move? 30 minutes to an hour to move. Well, think about how active you are on most days. If you have a step counter or something to keep track of how much you move, does it kind of beep at you? Do you have alarms set? Can you set alarms? How can we be more active? I really encourage you to really take every opportunity to move. Your body will thank you, and your body's asking you to move more. So this is the big takeaway here. Do something that you enjoy to get active. This couple here looks like they're going on a hike, and they look like they're enjoying it. So if you like to hike, do that. If you really don't like to do one sort of physical activity, don't do it. There are thousands of physical activities that you can do. So really do something you like and grab a friend. And if you need a reminder, or if things just keep coming up and there's not enough time in the day, there's 24 hours in the day, but we need to focus a little bit of time on our health. So put physical activity on your calendar and set it as a high priority, because really, after all, your health is a high priority. When we think about now and the future, your health is just honestly priceless. So set it as a priority, just like you would any other event on your calendar. And use positive talk. So change that negative language to positive, and remember how well you feel after moving. So for an example of this negative to positive talk is going from, oh, I have to walk after work. When am I going to make that happen? To, you know what? I get to walk after work. This is going to be nice. It's a beautiful day. I can call up a friend. I get to walk after work. I'm looking forward to that. You see the difference there? And then be in the moment and focus on your body, how your body feels during and after that physical activity, like I mentioned before. As you're stretching, think about, well, do I feel better? How is my mind? How is my mind? Am I less stressed? During your cool down and stretch, how do your muscles feel? How does your head feel? And then go throughout your body. Do your feet feel better? Do your legs feel better? Just take some deep breaths when you're done and really just see how you're feeling overall. So how much physical activity is enough? Well, I know you have all read all of Sherilyn's newsletters that she puts out on how much physical activity is enough. And since you're in Watt, Kansas, you're all pros at this, but adults need at least 150 minutes of moderate intensity exercise every week, or 75 minutes every week of vigorous intensity activities such as jogging or running. And don't forget the muscle strengthening activities that work all of your major muscle groups, such as your legs, hips, backs, chest, shoulders, and arms. So getting the weights out, doing push-ups, sit-ups, that. And that is very important, especially as we age, we start to lose our muscle mass, and we really want to keep doing the things that we do every day. But for even greater results and greater health benefits, we can double that and see the results that we get. So have any of you, you can drop this in the chat, but have any of you experienced any health benefits throughout Walk Kansas so far? Either mentally, do you feel less stressed? Where have you been able to bump up how much physical activity you've been doing? Just let us know if you have any success stories throughout. You know, this is the last session today, so we want to hear the success stories. And then be mindful of your intensity level. And you can do this through the talk test. A light intensity, you should be able to sing. Moderate intensity, which is that 150 minutes a week, you should be able to carry on a conversation but not sing. And vigorous activity is you become winded or too out of breath to carry on a conversation. And then perceived exertion is how hard you feel that you are working. You know, we're all different and we have different perceived exertion levels, but a 5 to 6 on that scale is moderate for exertion, and then a 7 to 8 is your vigorous activity for your exertion levels. Now, let's dive into some of these delicious recipes with Christina, and she is going to share all sorts of ways that we can incorporate what I was just chatting about into our real life with these recipes.
Perfect. Thank you. Good job, Ashley. So let's go to the next slide. We're going to talk a little bit about some beverage options. I often hear when I talk to people that, maybe the sweet tea or the pop or maybe the flavored coffee drinks are your temptation or your weakness. And that's where a lot of the sugar in your diet's coming from. So the next few recipes are giving you some options to get more flavor in your water. If you're one, I work with someone that's just like, I just don't like water, but if you can add some things to it, can make it easier to consume and get more fluid in your diet. So the first one is a strawberry mint water. Any of these recipes, feel free to get creative. If you look in the refrigerator and there's some blackberries in there, or there's some cucumber in there that looks like maybe you need to use that soon, try swapping these things out based upon the flavors that you prefer and what you have on hand. Whenever you do prepare these recipes, though, the longer that it chills in the refrigerator, the stronger your flavors. And also, if you slice up those strawberries, it's going to allow those flavors to penetrate throughout your water. So definitely try that. Let's try the next recipe. Next one is cucumber citrus. This is a great option. It's light and flavorful. You can sneak some of that cucumber flavor in your water. This is one that I really, really enjoy. Again, we've experienced this Kansas heat snuck up on us this past week. And so water is very important as we get into the summertime. And so try adding these things and seeing if you can help you increase your water intake. Okay, next one. Cranberry lime soda. So this gives you a little bit of that carbonation if that's something that you're really seeking and that's why you're drinking pop. So it's a great alternative to pop. For 1 cup, it's only 31 calories. So it's going to be a great reduction in your sugar compared to whatever your favorite pop drink is. What I encourage you to do is just to think about how much you're currently consuming, whether it's sweet tea or your flavored coffees or your pop, and then gradually reduce that. But make sure you're adding in some other fluid intake so your body is getting hydrated. And so maybe try one of these recipes and see if that helps you increase your water intake. Okay, the next one is our ginger flavored green tea. So green tea is a great source of antioxidants. The flavor just gives it, or the ginger gives it just a little bit different flavor profile. But again, feel free to add whatever you want into these things. If you add strawberries, I guarantee you it would taste delicious. But again, as long as you sit it in the refrigerator, you're adding those fruits in there, it's going to increase those flavors. Next one. So Ashley already talked about our baked apples a little bit earlier. This is an easy treat. When you look at the recipe, you can prepare this in less than 10 minutes. So if you're looking for a snack or you're looking for a dessert, this is a great alternative. Again, it's getting that fruit intake in your diet. It's not dirtying a lot of dishes. And the recipe makes 2 servings. And so it's something you could easily make for your family or even double it if you have kids that would be interested as well. Again, get creative, as Ashley said. Maybe try them in the crock pot, or you could bake them as well. I've sometimes added oatmeal to the mixture and added inside, and so you get a little bit more fiber in your diet, a little bit of that more whole grain, and gives you a little bit more texture while you're eating it. Excuse me. So if you're one that doesn't crave sweets, but maybe you like that savory afternoon snack or that evening snack, this could be an option for you. The cucumber is going to give it some crunch. So it's plain non-fat Greek yogurt with cucumber, olive oil, sprinkled with a little sea salt. And so number one, it's going to be about 13 grams of protein per serving. That healthy fats that we've been trying to increase in our diet throughout this whole series. And so if savory is something you enjoy, and encourage you to try this. The recipe says as you add that sea salt on top, it just tops it off and makes it perfect. I don't know if anybody's tried this recipe. I know we've talked about it a couple of times throughout the series. So if you have, put it in the chat so we can have your feedback. Okay, next one. And Sherilyn talked about this last week, I think, or maybe a couple weeks ago. This is a spin-off for traditional peanut butter and jelly. You're using apples instead of the jelly. So it's going to reduce our added sugar intake, to help you get a fruit intake in your diet, and it's going to give you some crunch. So I think about this when you have kids out of school for the summer, it's hot, you don't want to, heat up the kitchen. It could be something that they can easily help you prepare, and it's making a fruit and a whole grain in their diet, and they don't even realize they're making a healthier choice. Next one. This one's one of my favorites. My daughter is 10 and she can make this probably with her eyes closed. The recipe uses leftover bananas. So if you're one that buys a bunch of bananas every week, towards the end you have 2 or 3 that nobody's eating that's starting to get soft, peel them, quarter them up, and put them in a Ziploc bag in your freezer. So you could pull those out whenever you're craving a treat or a snack, and you can easily make this banana granita. You can also top it with a variety of things other than blueberries, but I really prefer the blueberries, but some cocoa powder or some strawberries. Whatever fruit that you have can really help kind of adjust the flavor profile that you're craving. Super easy snack. Again, you're getting more fruits in your diet, and it tastes very similar to ice cream. So if you have family members and you're trying to help them make gradual changes in eating the Mediterranean way, this is a great starting point to switch some of their snack and dessert options. And this is one that I think we talked about the first week, this fruit chat, kind of an Indian inspired flavor profile. Again, I love that the recipes with Med Instead of Meds, each one encourages you to use whatever you have on hand. Use what's available, use what's in season, and incorporate those and switch them out in this recipe. So again, this is a great way to incorporate more fruits and vegetables in our diet, and maybe some seasonings that we're not typically using in our daily meal preparation. And so I think the first week, several people had tried this and they really enjoyed it. So this could be something you could try as well. Next. So banana med muffins. Often when we think about banana bread, that's just kind of a fancier or maybe a healthier way of thinking about just a dessert or a cake. Often our banana bread recipes have a lot of sugar. This banana nut muffin has no added sugar. So it has our healthy fats from the nuts that are incorporated into the recipe. So this could be something that you could easily make ahead of time, use for your snacks or a breakfast on the go, and you're getting fruit and you're getting your healthy fats and oils, and so this could be a good option for those crazy mornings that we all encounter. I think that's it. Perfect. Well, we thank you all for joining us throughout this series. As Sherilyn said earlier, all of the recordings are available online. If you missed a week or maybe you want to review to get caught up to speed, feel free to do that. And we encourage you to complete the survey today. If you have any questions, please put them in the chat, and we'd love to hear from you. I am glad to see Monique says that they tried the yogurt and cucumbers and it's yummy. So that's an inspiration. We should all try that for a snack sometime and see what we think about it.
And so Jennifer, we ask that you, and anybody listening, we ask that you do a survey for each Med Instead of Meds presentation that you've watched or you've viewed online. So that helps us to gather some data. Thank you. It is the same survey, but we ask you which one that you're referring to. we have any other questions? Not really seeing them come through.
Thank you all for being such an interactive group and hanging with us throughout this, throughout the weeks. It's been fun.
It has been fun. Loved having you all. Okay. So again, just feel free to reach out to any of us, to Ashley, Christina, myself, if you have any questions or thoughts in the future and we can help with. And you've got a couple more weeks of Walk Kansas, so we're getting towards the end of that program, but that doesn't mean that you stop walking or that you stop these healthy habits. That's the whole point, is just to get you started and to make sure that these stick with you. So again, just check the portal for the recordings and the resources and a couple more Walk Kansas newsletters coming your way. And thanks again for joining us.